Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're doing a VCT Pacific season preview for the team Rex, Regum, Qeon. So Rex, Regum, Qeon, or RRQ, were a team in the VCT Pacific last year. Overall, they had some pretty mediocre performances. Their 2023 placement, starting with lock-in, they lost their only match, placing 17th to 32nd. Then in the Pacific League, they placed 7th, missing playoffs, and then at the LCQ, they do a little bit better, but only place 4th. So overall, pretty mediocre results, being one placement outside of the playoffs, but they probably wouldn't have done much if they made it there anyway. So what did this org do to address this mediocre performance? Well, they kept the roster mostly the same, switching out 2 players in EJ and Iman, and then players in are Estrella and Jemkin. Both those players coming from tier 2 orgs, Jemkin playing with Scars and Estrella playing with D+. Championships won by the org R0, and for the 2023 MVP, I chose Xfaro. He is the IGL of this team. He had solid stats last year, playing characters that don't necessarily need to have a high KD ratio, but he still had a decent one. So now we're going to go through the stats for all these players, and I just want to say one thing before we get into the stats. I am so tired of seeing gamer tags and just not knowing how the hell to read them. Like, what am I even looking at? Like, for 2GE, that guy had such a long name on Wikipedia, and then thankfully he just counts as 2GE, so I just did that for short. But like, Flipsider, Limore, what am I even supposed to say to that? How is that a word? That's not a word. That's nothing. I remember one time I did a video that was a preview of Masters Tokyo, and I was talking about Kankan. I didn't know that he was called Kankan at the time because his gamer tag was like ZMJJKK, and I'm like, it's Zimjik? Like, who is this guy? And then I got a comment saying his name's actually Kankan. You need to do your research. I'm like, I have never seen this player in my entire life. I've never watched him play. I do not. Now I know who he is, but how the hell am I, as an outside observer, supposed to look at that and know what the hell to say for that? It was ridiculous. And Rex, Regum, Qeon, they have already an annoying name to say, and then they have all these players with just random names. And all right, rant over. I apologize, but I just wanted to get that out because, God, I've been doing all these season previews and all these names are so annoying. Rant over. Now we're moving on to the stats, starting with 2GE. He had 294 kills, 302 deaths, 208 assists for key ratio of 0.97. He played Smokes, playing Astra, Harbor, and Omen. So he didn't get into every match last year. He was a player that was in and out during points in the season. Overall, he had a decent performance, but he also didn't play that much, so it's a small sample size. So for him, he's probably going to be looking to be a more permanent member of the roster. He is, I believe, the longest standing person on this org on this roster. So hopefully, the org finds to trust him more and have him play a bit more. Moving on to Xfaro, he had 454 kills, 412 deaths, 199 assists for key ratio of 1.10. He played Astra, Sova, Sky, Omen, and Fade. So Smoke Initiator Flex, he had good stats last year. It seems like he is a decent IGL, but in his own individual performance, but in terms of how he actually leads the team, it didn't seem like it was really working last year. So hopefully with some new blood in their team, Xfaro can have a bit more to work with and can improve his IGLing ability. Moving on to Flipsider, he had 405 kills, 461 deaths, 311 assists for key ratio of 0.87. He played Viper, Breach, Sky, and KO. So rough stats overall for Flipsider. He did get into quite a few matches, but it doesn't seem like he was very effective. He will be looking to have a bounce back year, but with a 6-man roster with, not really having a clear substitute, we might see him not get as much time as before. Moving on to Limore. God, I just hate it. 469 kills, 473 deaths, 118 assists for key ratio of 0.99. Mainly sticking with Sentinel, playing Cypher, Sage, and Killjoy, but a bit of Viper there as well. Not bad stats overall, but you definitely want to improve that now that Cypher is pretty good and pretty meta. Hopefully we see him improve his Sentinel play. It looks like he's going to be the main Sentinel player for this roster, so hopefully his numbers get better and they can find a bit more structure. Moving on to their off-season pickup, starting off with Australia at 885 kills, 844 deaths, 674 assists for key ratio of 1.04. He played Breach, KO, Sage, Harbor, and Sky. So Australia had a good year on D+ last year. Solid stats, as you can see. It doesn't seem like he was the most dominant, game-breaking kind of player, but he definitely had a good year on a team that, didn't win Ascension, but did make that tournament. So hopefully he can translate his Tier 2 play over to Tier 1. Moving on to their big duelist addition from Tier 2, Jemkin. He had 1,460 kills, 1,128 deaths, 289 assists for key ratio of 1.29. He played Raze, Reyna, Phoenix, and Jet. So he was on that Scars team that lost to Bleed in the Pacific Ascension Finals, and he performed very well throughout the whole year. Definitely proving that he is worthy of a Tier 1 spot, so we'll see if he can prove that he can be consistently good at the Tier 1 level, as it looks like he's going to be this team's best fragger. It is more than likely he ends up being the main duelist player, as I don't see a lot of other duelists play on this roster. In fact, I don't see any other duelist characters being on this roster, so that's definitely his spot. But we'll see if they play any other player on a duelist role, but my guess is Jemkin's going to be having that for the entire year. So overall, on paper, this roster definitely feels a bit underwhelming. Like, the stats here aren't terrible, aside from maybe Flipsider with a 0.87, but he's also not really playing roles. Aside from, I think Initiators should definitely have a better K ratio than 0.87. Smokes, you don't really need a high one, as evident by 2GE, who did have a decent year. That is a decent stat line for him, but he also didn't play that much. So we'll see how this all works out. They do have a big roster here. Again, it's not clear who their substitute is. Last year, they were switching out players even in the middle of matches, so we'll probably see them do that again, but it didn't really work for them last year, so will it work this time? I don't know, but I think all the best teams pretty much just have a set roster of players. So I think some of the teams that are going to have more fluid rosters where certain players, switch out in between maps, I don't think it's not a proven effective method yet, but maybe that changes. So moving on to their map stats from last year, starting with their best maps, Haven, 5-2 record, attack was 48%, defense was 67%, Ascent, a losing record on it. Actually, this was among their second best maps. They had a 2-3 record on 2 maps, but attack was 52% on Ascent, and then defense was 48%. Worst maps, Lotus, 1-3 record, attack was 38%, defense was 42%. Fracture, 1-2 record, attack was 50%, defense was 36%. So they don't need to worry about Fracture anymore, but they also don't have Haven anymore, so this map pool right now might not benefit them, but maybe with some new blood in there, they can actually dominate on some maps, because even their best map in Haven, that's not a great stat line. I mean, 5-2 is good, but it's nothing overwhelmingly positive. So the IGL and the coaching staff definitely have their work cut out for them. I don't know if this team is going to find much success in the Pacific. I think it's going to be very competitive, and while there definitely is some talent on this roster, I don't know if I see them really going far in a league with PaperX, DRX, T1, Zeta. I don't know if I see them at the same tier of those teams, but at the same time, they could prove me wrong and perform very well. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think Rex, Regum, Qeon is going to be a good team, or will they have a mediocre year like they did last year? This is my last Pacific team season preview. Tomorrow, we're doing Sentinels, so that is the last season preview total, and then we're done. I've done every team from EMEA, Pacific, and Americas is going to be finished tomorrow. So if you want to watch any of those, they are in a playlist on my channel. So you just click my channel. They're all my most recent uploads. So thank you all very much for watching. Please click like if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.